All right, friends, it is a Tuesday in June. By 10 a.m., you have already fielded 4 questions about food. What is for breakfast? Can I have a snack? What is for lunch? There are also leftovers in the fridge, and you're not really sure about them. Are they still good? Are they not? There's produce that needs to be used up. And tonight, someone has an activity, so dinner is going to be a whole thing. And you have not even thought about what you are going to be eating yet. This is decision fatigue about food, and I feel like in the summer it really peaks, so let's talk about it.
Welcome to Chronic Illness Moms. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon while raising neurodivergent kids, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have lived with autoimmune disease and flare-ups that made everyday life feel harder than it should. After years of pushing through and burning out, I learned how much stress, poor sleep, and nervous system overload were driving my symptoms. Everything changed when I started building small, realistic habits that actually supported my body instead of fighting it. In this podcast, you'll learn simple habits that help you to feel better. So pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time.
Hey friend, welcome back. Okay, today I'm going to get really practical with you, specifically around food. And I just want to say up front, this is not a diet episode. I'm not going to be giving you a meal plan or a list of rules or telling you everything you are doing wrong. What I want to talk about are just 2 simple things. One food worth paying close attention to, and then also how you can figure out what that one food might be for you. And then I'm going to share one simple meal prep habit that has genuinely made my week easier. That's all we're going to go over in this episode. Because here's what I know about us when it comes to food. We know we should be eating in a way that supports our bodies. We hear about eating to reduce inflammation and we think, yeah, that makes perfect sense and I want to do that. And then it is 11:30 on a Tuesday and someone is asking for lunch and we have not eaten yet and we just want to grab whatever requires the least amount of thought and effort. And then we feel guilty about it. And then we feel worse because our symptoms flare up. That cycle, the intention of actually wanting to eat well, like the intention is there. I want to eat well. I want to support my body without having any kind of support to back it up is what I want to help you with today. So let me tell you what got me here because I think that my experience might sound really familiar to some of you. This was a couple of years ago, but I was dealing with a rash that kept coming back. I was having really bad joint pain in my knees, in my elbows, and also this anxious feeling. It would just come out of nowhere. Like nothing in my day had changed. Nothing obvious had happened. There was nothing that was going to be causing me to feel anxious, but I would feel this wave of anxiety come over me and I could not explain why. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. Was it stress? Were my adrenals taxed? Was it something I was taking? Was it just my body being unpredictable again? And I started paying very close attention to when things were happening. And the thing that I noticed was that it happened every time after I ate gluten. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I resisted this for a long time. I did not want to give up gluten. So I kind of half tried pulling it back. And then I would think, okay, maybe it's not actually that bad. I'd feel a little bit better because I'd cut it out. And then I'd think, okay, it's probably actually not that bad. And I would eat it again. And then I would feel terrible again. I'm sure most of you know how this cycle goes. And finally, I just committed and I said, okay, I am cutting this out fully for at least a month and I'm going to actually pay attention to what happens. And what I noticed was the rash started to clear up, the joint pain went away, and that anxious feeling, the one that I had for no obvious reason, it went away. My body had been telling me something the whole time, I just had to actually listen to it. So here's what was happening for you, just to kind of break it down. For some of us, especially those of us who are dealing with like autoimmune conditions or chronic inflammation, gluten, along with other things like dairy, can trigger a response from our immune system that shows up as inflammation throughout the body. The rash, the joint pain, the anxiety, those were all my body's way of saying, hey, this is really not working for us right now. And once I stopped giving it that trigger consistently over time, it had the space to start calming down and start healing. Now, I am going to tell you that doesn't mean that gluten is your problem. That is something that your own body will tell you if you give it the chance to really slow down and pay attention to symptoms. But what I want you to take from this is the practice of actually paying attention. So if you have symptoms that feel random, that come and go without a clear reason, we mentioned in the last episode that emotional aspect of it. If you've already addressed that and you know it's not that and they're still happening, then I would absolutely look at food as a potential piece of that puzzle that is causing your symptoms. Now, I don't think that this is the answer to everything, but it absolutely does give you information. And beyond gluten specifically, there are other foods that just ask more from the body that is already dealing with chronic inflammation to process it. So processed sugar, highly refined foods. I mentioned dairy earlier can often be a trigger for a lot of people. These are things that your immune system that just has to work extra hard to process. And so when your body is already stretched, it's already managing symptoms, running with less margin than other people, reducing these inputs of food that could be potentially triggering inflammation, it really does matter. Now, again, I'm not saying you have to do it perfectly, not saying you have to take everything out all at once, but just start paying attention to one thing. For instance, if you notice a symptom consistently happening, then start writing down what you ate within the last few days of the symptom popping up to see if you can find a pattern. Okay. So really the goal here is start paying attention to foods. And I do think that writing down is really, really helpful. Again, you can just grab your phone and make a quick note. But what helped me the most was to start being intentional. I'm not saying you have to do a full food diary, although I do think that those can be very beneficial. But what helped me the most was to start to say, okay, this is what I had. And then this is what a day later, I realized I'm having really bad joint pain, but I ate bread. And that's what helped me so much. So just starting to pay attention, starting to get curious, starting to really, again, like I mentioned in the last episode, being your own detective to figure out and see if you can find a common pattern that is happening when you notice these symptoms. Okay, so now let's move on to that meal prep piece I was talking about. Because here's what I know and I have experienced that happens when we decide to change something about how we eat or the food we're going to eat, and we have no routine for it because it's a new thing that we're doing. You know, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we get to noon and nothing sounds good. And we are tired, we didn't have a plan, the kids are asking for things, and we just grab whatever is the easiest. Usually it's going to be whatever requires the least amount of thought. And that is almost always not going to be the thing that we were trying to eat more of. So what has genuinely helped me, because one of the main things that I personally focus on is getting enough protein. And so what has helped me is getting protein ready or batch prepping or batch cooking protein at the beginning of the week. So grilled chicken, pork chops. I personally will buy ground beef, and then when we get home, we pre-cook it and we freeze it so I can quickly pull that out of the freezer and it's ready to go. I just want something that is already there that I don't have to think about because it's already done. It's just a simple protein for me to grab and eat. Another thing that I like to do would be to cut up vegetables as well. So it could be carrots, broccoli, cucumbers, whatever it is that you have that you like, but just having those there and ready to grab, I have noticed really helps me if it's like, oh my goodness, I absolutely need to eat. And at the same time, I feel like I don't have the energy or the mental space to plan out and cook an entire meal, but I need protein and I need vegetables, so I can just grab these two things and quickly eat them, and now I'm good to go. So, and that's the thing. I know this sounds so simple, but that's because it is. And that is really the point. Because when that protein is already cooked and the vegetables are already cut up, you're just having to grab stuff. You already have the starting pieces. You already have something ready to go. You're not starting from zero every single time that you know you need to eat. And I find, especially in the summer, when our eating is almost always the last thing to think about, at least for me, as a person who honestly can forget to eat. So that little bit of prep, it can make a huge difference between eating something that actually supports my body or just getting through the day based off of whatever was the easiest and then regretting it at the end of the day because, oh my goodness, I didn't eat enough protein, or I had something that had gluten because I was in a rush and then my blood sugar got low because I was not supporting my body with enough protein and fats and all that stuff. And then I ate something that I really wish I wouldn't have, and now I'm experiencing symptoms because of that. Okay, so again, like I mentioned, some foods, gluten for me specifically, but potentially something else for you, they can keep your immune system working over time. And then that's going to show up as inflammation. That could be joint pain, rashes, all kinds of things. And so I really do think it is worth experimenting with one food at a time and really paying attention to what shifts whenever you really start to focus on this one food, every time I eat this is what I'm noticing. What happens whenever I pull it out? And then also on that prep piece, what is the one thing that you could do? For instance, my goals are protein and I want some vegetables. So I focus on prepping that. What are your goals for that week? And what could you prep ahead of time in order to make sure that eating what you want to eat, setting yourself up for success here by going ahead and having those available and done and ready for you to just grab and eat. I really think that taking the decision making out of it makes such a difference in you being able to consistently follow through. That has been the case for me anyway. Okay, so I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear as you're starting to really become curious about any kind of food that could potentially be adding to or really the cause of some of your symptoms. Tell me, I want to hear from you. What's happening? What food is that you're curious about, that you're thinking might be contributing? And then also, if you have any great meal prep ideas that start the week, really setting your week up for success and eating the way that you know supports your body the best, come and share those with us as well. And you can do that over in our free Facebook community, and you can find the link down in the show notes below, or you can go to facebook.com/groups/chronic health moms. Okay, so next week we're going to be talking about sleep. This is both for you and your kids. And I have a very specific thing that I want you to try that I think is going to make a huge difference for your whole house. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you then.
Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.